is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Hello. Sorry, I knocked this on the ground and I'm going deaf now. Hi, Pierre. So, just so people know, we have to run a special headset for David Smoke because he's 706 years old. And because of that, we use it, honestly, when we do tests in the studio, I don't have to put mine or Craig's headset on. And this is the table he sits at during the main show here, and I sit over there I've got a normal amount of hearing loss right now for someone who wears headphones every day. Pierre, I'm sure you're the same way because you've had an IFB in your ear every day for a couple decades now. It's, multiple times a day I have to turn to my wife and go, what? I'm sorry, what? It's happening. I understand that it's happening. But my level of hearing loss is consistent with this. His is beyond that of a dead person. So, it's very loud. And so we have a different amp here for him that we run it into. And when the music started playing, I reached over for the amp and it was on the ground. So I had to, temporarily go deaf. For a second.
That has happened to me in the IFB world as well. As you know, all roads lead back to Seinfeld, where the episode where Elaine thinks one guy is faking his death.
Yeah.
Played by Rob Schneider. And then at the end of the episode, his earpiece falls out, so she gives it a test and sounds good. And then all of a sudden the fire alarm goes off, and then she absolutely, her head explodes because it actually does work. That has happened to me in the IFB world. You think you're plugged in, and then you actually plug in, and then you're like, oh, God.
Do you have one that is just yours?
That
you keep at your desk? Oh, okay.
Yes.
So we had to, last year for our pregame show, Garrett drove down here. He got here before I did. The first thing that happened was I got an alert from the power company that says, hey, the electricity is off at the at 101 Elm Avenue. And I was like, oh man, we're on. And it was we had started. Is that when we had started doing the show at 9:00, no matter what?
Yeah, it was the pregame show. It was at 9.
Yeah. So is it we had been doing shows previous years where it was, we would just do it whenever the game was. And so then KWTX tells us hey, why don't we just do it at 9:00 regardless? And we were like, oh, that's a great idea. That way we don't have to worry about it. It made it better for everybody. We're done at 10:30 no matter what. If there's an 11 o'clock kick, we can just go over. If it's not an 11 o'clock kick, we can go live our lives, and all these things. So it was nice. So this particular morning, I get this message, and it was at probably it texted me maybe 20 minutes before I woke up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wake up and I see I've got a text message on my phone, and then I hurry and jump in the shower. And as soon as I get out of the shower, it says estimated power to be returned at noon, and they say that so you're not you don't have unrealistic expectations, which is one of the few good things the power companies do here is hey, listen, we're not good at this. Or it could be bad. We're not that fast. So, I send the group text out, and Garrett's like, look, I'm about to go up there anyway. I'll tell you how bad it is. And all he sends back is, it's not. We're not. You're going to have to. And so I called Josh, the head man over there. And I was like, hey, I think we're probably going to have to use your studio today because Garrett says there's none. He goes, hey, well, just go down and see and talk to the guys out there if they'll let you. And so I called Garrett, and he's like, hey, he just wants me to come and see what the status is. Plus, we needed to grab some things from here anyway. So I zoom in here, and as soon as I pull up, there's not one, not two, but 3 bucket trucks lining the streets because it had happened. One of them is right behind the building here, and something happened where somebody hit a pole or something in the morning, and it set off a chain reaction down the road where they had to redo all of Elm Avenue in a day, which they did. They got it done, but it wasn't until like 2:00 that afternoon. So there was no power. So we had to go. And so we don't have IFBs there, but that's the only way that we're going to be able to hear anything, at that studio. So the one that they gave me was clearly for, it might have been like Rusty Garrett, the old weathermans that retired.
Yeah.
They just pulled it out of the drawer. Because I put it in and they're like, hey, Paul, how does it sound? And I was like, Jesus, man. Good. No, good. I can hear you guys in the booth really well. But by the way, who farted in there? I heard that too.
Those are all people don't know. Those are all supposed to be molded to your ear. You have to actually put like this glue paste in your ear and let it kind of mold into itself for a few minutes and then pull it out. And then you send it off to a shop and they create an IFB for you.
Yeah. Oh, see, no, it just gave me kind of a thing and you switched it out and I found one that fit my ear. And after doing it at a real studio, not to say that we don't have a real studio, but like a real TV studio that's set up for news, you guys have much fancier technology. Garrett's in the booth, and he's just like, we don't have this at our studio. We don't have this. I don't know what that. And like they'd ask Garrett questions, and he's like, I have a laptop.
Listen, trust me, I would much rather have the headsets. I'd much rather have the headsets.
Yeah.
But
I did like if you get the really good IFBs, which KWTX has they were really good. Like it was crystal clear. I didn't even notice it was in my ear. Like it was great. This is very inside baseball stuff, but but you understand it and that you're just like, oh my gosh. And then we're in the studio and, we hear the commercials and see the commercials and it's not, like we normally do, but like in the middle of it, which is something that we don't have the ability to do in the studio right now. So it's like, hey, by the way, Paul, your mic's coming loose. And you're like, oh, yeah, thank you. I got it right here. Okay, no problem. All right, good deal. Well, hey, Smokey, make sure that 90 seconds out and you've got that read coming up. And you're like, well, that's Gloria. Then I'm like, hey, Garrett, can we figure out how to do that? And he's like, no. He's like, you should see it's like a friggin' laser beam or something they fire into you guys. I don't know what's going on. It's like I'm telling a guy, like for us, we have a lot of cool equipment here, but it's like telling someone who works at Best Buy that like, hey, guess what? Tomorrow we're going to do the same job, but at NASA.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It's like you should be able to figure it out. Like we have everything here, like everything that we have here, they have at NASA. It's like, well, yeah, we know that, but they also have more.
We get so many people in that situation. It's like you have so many people who are trying to make a show work or make something work and that arrive on set or like, well, isn't it just a matter of flipping a switch or doing this and doing that? No, it's not as simple as it's. I've never ceased to be amazed by the engineers who work for TV and radio stations. They are absolutely the most underappreciated people, maybe in the entire workforce, with some of the things that they have to do.
Oh yeah, and then like Master Control can kind of be the land that time forgot. Like the guys who are back there. Also, it is a good job for people who don't seek out praise, who just like to build and do and create things and then create the next thing. Like once this is over, they just want to go to the next thing. And if they get a thank you now and again, like that's enough for them. Make sure I'm paid well enough. Don't interrupt me during my lunch break and let me do my job. Like the let me do my job people. And the ones that are really good at it is you're like, okay, here's my idea I'd like to do. Tell me how we can do it. And they like that. And they're like, oh, no, that's something. Let's do this. And then when you tell them like another idea that's stupid, they're like, no, that's dumb.
Yeah. Oh, I remember when I first got into radio when I was 19 years old, our engineer, his name was Bruce. And he was a great guy, but he always had a way of first of all, when you go to him, he kind of gives you this look like, what do you want? And the second, and then he finds a way to make you feel even dumber than you already felt beforehand for coming to get him. But me and him were cool because he was a Dolphins fan. So I never really minded one way or the other. But there's guys that'll be like, you're kind of dumb. No wonder you're just punching buttons.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy how the guys do it. We like in radio, and like I've never had a regular engineer in anything I've done. We've always had to like farm that out because we're a smaller market. But when I meet like real engineers and they'll come and be like, "Well, who did this?" And I'm like, I don't know. It wasn't
Garrett.
some dumbass. I don't know. I mean, like just the guy. I mean, he like people in this building will tell you he looks exactly like me, but I don't see it.
Yeah, yeah.
He looks and sounds and talks like me and answers to my name and lives in my house, but he's not me. I didn't do that.
No, I'd never be capable of such tomfoolery. No.
I mean, that's clearly a 1/8 when it should be a quarter. I mean, like, I don't know what that guy's doing. I mean, that's why, like, when I'm a mark for getting my car fixed. I definitely need an honest mechanic. I'm a mark. I can do all this stuff in here. Like, I know it well, but also the cool stuff is we don't have it, we don't really need it because we're doing a couple of short podcasts a day. We're not like, I'm not going and like, all right, well, we got a tornado coming. Nothing I'm doing is going to save your life in the moment, right?
Soon enough, maybe. Soon enough.
Yeah.
Soon enough, maybe.
Yeah, so
you could be a meteorologist in the making. You never know.
Yeah, no. Look. Here's the deal. We have a lot of great meteorologists, but we're gonna talk about your old meteorologist for a second.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about him.
Okay.
I don't want this. He's retired now. You're not working with him, but you worked with a guy named Andy Anderson.
I did.
Who I would not call the world's most on top of it meteorologist. Like if you wanted to get the ags, like there were two other meteorologists in the MAR. We have two, now three, with three others. If like it was the television that was on in the place that you were, he'd get it done. But if you had a choice, you would not go to him first. He was much more to me of a television personality than he was a weatherman.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And I know he was an actual meteorologist, right? He wasn't like one of these.
I actually don't remember if he was. I thought he was, but I could be wrong. I'm not 100% certain of that or not.
Andy had a way about him that, like he just, how can I describe it? It was, okay, you know what? He was, if all the characters of Anchorman were just one person and real.
I mean, it was, he definitely had a very unique delivery, a unique personality. And, I
saw him on a horse at a parade one time and I almost died.
We shot a promo one time, and I remember the finished product. I didn't shoot the promo with him. The four of us shot it independently of each other. But the promo was him talking about, and this is not his fault at all. This was our the guy who was in charge of promo, who I really soured on later on because he turned out to be a real douche. But so he wrote this stupid script about Andy Anderson, with Andy Anderson saying news that is rooted and unearthed or something like that. And like, who talks like that? And meanwhile, Andy Anderson
Andy absolutely does not.
No, he does not. And he's standing right next to a horse as he's reading it as well. The weather guy standing right next to a horse, which I know that Andy's like very like Texan kind of guy.
Oh, he's a cowboy. Yeah. I mean, he's an amateur cowboy, not like but like he rides horses and, he's probably got a couple cattle out at the ranch,
To be honest with you, I wish, and this would kind of bring your Anchorman reference full circle. I wish Andy would have done the weather with a cowboy hat on. Like that would have been.
I told you guys years ago years ago when I would text you during the news, mostly to make you guys break, or to dare you to sneak in a word or some sort of reference into the broadcast. I told you guys that you needed to, like, Andy Anderson Weather Cowboy, where like the promo is him like lassoing a tornado and things like that, and lean into that, because that's only going to help. Like, that's only going to help differentiate you. But their thing was, like, so, I mean, like, we had Rusty Garrett at Channel 10, who's like, he was actually not a meteorologist. He was a TV guy. And he was very good at delivering the weather. He was so popular with the senior citizens in this town, he could not go to the grocery store. Right. Like, if he went to the grocery store at a time where if you were over 70 years old, you'd be at the grocery store, he couldn't go. Yeah. Because old ladies would stop and be like, oh, I love the weather that you do. And, listen, my niece's a baby shower is next Sunday at 4:30. Is it going to be raining next Sunday at 4:30? Can you tell me if it's going to be raining next Sunday at 4:30? Please, Rusty, tell me it's not going to be raining. And that was his life. That was his life. So he couldn't go. And, like, what a weird thing to not be able to do, because you have access to a big computer with the weather on it. But he couldn't. And then we have Matt Hines, who's like your normal straight ahead, really cool guy, weatherman. Matt, he's been here forever. And then we had Andy, and Andy, I mean, like, he got out of the studio more than any weatherman ever. Like, he would, and not like out in a field doing weather. Like, he'd be like, hey, I'm Andy Anderson. I'm here at the rodeo. By the way, it's going to be hot and sunny today. Why don't you come on by the Mahia Rodeo? I'm Andy Anderson. Come on by. Hey, Nikki and Pierre, you guys should come out and get in a horse. All right, sports is next. And
that's definitely how it was. That's definitely how it was.
Yeah, you weren't like, when there was bad weather, Andy wasn't wearing a windbreaker, standing in it and going like, hey, we're monitoring this and here, and let's go to the other weather. The young weather guy, he's even closer to the danger because he's expendable and I'm not, like, he's even over there, like, he's storm chasing. We'll go to him. No, Andy's like, hey, you've been to the Temple watermelon dance.
It's
Go on out here.
It's funny too, because I remember sometimes at the end of broadcasts, especially during my time at KCEN, I felt like I was a little more off the cuff, a little more hot takey. I've kind of calmed down a little bit in my older age at this point. And there would be times when Andy would be sitting across the studio desk from me, and I would get kind of a look from him, like a little bit of an eyebrow. Like, I could tell, like, on his face, like, this guy's crazy. This is a lunatic.
Look, and the reason I say Anchorman is, if you had ever gone to the map, like when they come out of the break and you come to the map, and he had just been sitting there with a scotch, and he'd been like, great weather today. Hope you're going to get out golfing or out riding a horse. I'm Andy Anderson, Channel 6 KCN Weather First Alert. It's going to be really clear. Ooh, that's a good burn. And like, put it down. Like, and you could see it, like, totally in the 70s. Like, I could have seen him with like a cigarette. Like,
yeah.
Right. Well, here's how it's going to go. He had that old school vibe of, I don't like, and then when, like, there was severe weather, if you did turn over to Andy, like, other guys had like this kind of like, heightened, like, hey, make sure you get in the shelter to do this. And he's like, oh, I mean, maybe over here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, 100%. This is like, meteorology is not an exact science. I don't know what you guys want out of me. By the way, tomorrow when the storm's over, we're coming out to the Catalina Rodeo.
I can't tell you the number of times I heard, there might be a few sprinkles or spritzels. He made up a couple of spritzels or spritzers. I was like, spritzers? What?
Yeah, I didn't know what a spritzer.
Like, what? So,
were you there, or it might have been Nick, your predecessor?
Yeah.
But there was a night where Nikki sent me a picture. Our good friend Nikki Lorenzo sent me a picture, and it was boiled peanuts all over the desk. Like, literally all over the desk. Like, he was eating boiled peanuts, and he was just not engaged in the first part of the broadcast at all. He was just waiting for them to say, Andy, well, when you do that, like, you're going to, like, I mean, they just like, Andy, 10 seconds, Andy, 5 seconds. And then he just like, they're like 5 seconds. And he like, that's when he like, it occurred to him that like, hey, I've got to be standing over by the screen right now. Or it's just going to be, you know, so he had to like hop up. Well, when he did, he just knocked over this big like bowl of boiled peanuts just all over the desk.
Yeah. I would have remembered that.
Which is a very weird thing to be snacking on during a live newscast.
Yes, I would agree entirely.
It's not like a granola bar or, you know, like something like that, like grapes or something where you're just like, hey, let me get a little, you know, a cheese stick, something like that. That makes sense. Boiled peanuts.
No, I would have remembered that. I don't remember. I don't know if I was there for that. I would have remembered that 100%.
Yeah, I think that was Nick. I think that would have been Nick. Probably. Because it was on like a group chat of like.
I'd have to ask Nick. I might text him after the show and ask him.
Yeah, it might have been Nick. Yeah. Because I just remember it vividly because the other game I would try to do is I would try to get Nikki to throw to Andy in ways that she would never do it.
Right.
And she's like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm like, believe me, you'll like,
yes.
I tried to incept Weather Cowboy into the thing. And like, because here's the deal. I know she said it once. It's like, if we go on over to our own Weather Cowboy, Andy Anderson, he would have been like, I am the fucking Weather Cowboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You 100% would have said, I think you would have leaned into it 100%.
Yeah. He would have been 100%. Like, yes, you're damn right I'm the Weather Cowboy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He would have showed up, like he would have had spurs. Like you would tell like, hey, don't worry about the suit anymore. Don't have to worry about the suit. Or if you wear the suit, if you want to look, you know, like the, you know, Fort Worth oil cowboy guy, do that. Like just lean into it.
We should have built him an outdoor weather center to wear the cowboy hat, because you probably can't wear the cowboy hat in studio. It's going to cause a lighting issue. So,
yeah.
But there are enough great days of weather in Waco to where he could have easily gone outside and done the weather from outside with a cowboy hat on.
Oh, look, hey, take the hat, like start the broadcast with the hat on, right?
Yeah. Oh, have to.
And then take the hat off and hang it
like a
on
Mr.
a
Rogers
hat rack,
thing.
Like by the thing.
Yeah, it's like a
right?
Mr. Rogers sketch, you know, like you just, you change the sweater, or that you just put the cowboy hat up on the, I totally agree.
Yeah, no, see, Pierre, this is why I love this podcast and doing it with you, because we haven't even gotten to the things we're going to talk about yet, but like a TV consultant could watch this right now and they could have the Weather Cowboy. Yes. I mean, Andy Anderson is maybe the original Weather Cowboy, but there will always be Weather Cowboys out there. And if you want to make the Weather Cowboy, Pierre and I are here to help you make it happen.
Here's the deal. Like when it comes to like shticks and gimmicky stuff, I mean, it is what it is. However, I can't argue with the results because people remember you by that. That's how you differentiate yourself. It's like, oh yeah, that's the guy with the cowboy hat, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I mean, you have to have something.
Here's the deal. Everybody's got first wave alert, whatever. Like everybody's got a Doppler radar. Yeah. Everybody has it. They just name it something different. So it sounds like that you have the better one. Like they give it a cool name. Correct. You know, like, oh no, this is the Storm Track 8000. And theirs is the Storm Track, you know, is the Weather Watcher 5000. Right. Whatever it is. Like, but it's all like Doppler only comes out with like one every couple of years. Yes. You know, you all have the same software. It's all the same thing. It's not like iPhones where you can go and get like 12 different versions of the same thing. Right. They make a Doppler that's for this, and then like they make bigger ones that are for bigger things. Like NOAA has a bigger one than say your local TV station does, because they've got to, you know, do for the world. You just have to worry about your little zip code, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
And so you differentiate by doing those things, like, you know, getting in and, you know, making it fun. So look, Pierre, if you showed up like each week, like depending on what it is, like if you were holding a hockey stick and wearing a helmet, I wouldn't begrudge you that, you know, set yourself apart, you know.
I might bounce a basketball next time I go in the studio. I'm just like, what's that for? Oh, you know, just, you know, you don't improve by not bouncing the ball around.
Here's the other thing. 90% of the sports departments in this country make the same promo over and over again, where they take the 3 or 4 people who are in the sports department, and what they do is shot to shot, they have you like passing a basketball that then turns into catching a baseball,
Right.
which then turns into scoring a touchdown, which then turns into all like morphs onto all four of you in one place in the studio at one time, holding those things.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. From the court to the gridiron,
Yeah.
from the gridiron to the diamond, from the diamond to the rink, and then you're back in the studio, and then it all like more like you've all done it.
Yeah.
You've all done it, various things, and then like, you know, Channel 48 has you covered, you know.
And you do the look. You do the look into the camera. You know?
Yeah. Channel 48 has you covered. Yeah, you get that. You get that done, and see, I could be there to be like, no, that's not what we're doing.
No.
Yeah.
No, this has been
Like
done around the country.
Yeah, so I think it needs to be the tough questions. So like, and just so Pierre asking, you know, the coach of the Timberwolves, like, hey, you know, we've seen this lineup for 6 weeks now. It hasn't done anything. Are there going to be changes? And then, like, when the coach lashes out at you because he's mad at his team and not at you for asking the question that he's been asking himself for the same weeks, and he's like, well, Pierre, that's a damn good question. Yeah. That's your promo right there.
Yeah, 100%.
Not like
the other idea I would have, is that, you know what, I would say bring the Oklahoma drill back in the news promo. Like, put a couple helmets on, put a pad, bring the Oklahoma drill back.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll shoot a promo that way.
Yeah. No. I'm all for that. I think, look, we have spent the first 26 minutes of this show fixing local news.
Right.
Like, and you've long known this. I should be the top paid outside local news consultant. I've never worked a day in local news. I've been in many television stations, but nary a one has sent me money, and it's long overdue that they do.
You have a key fixation on local news and like how it's like you should have been a consultant. That's what you should have done. That really would have been a great.
Most of their ideas are so dumb. I can't tell you how many of you guys I've talked to, and I'll turn on the news and be like, hey, what's with that stupid tie you're wearing? They're like, they want me to wear like sports guy ties. And you're like, yeah.
So much of it is lazy. So much of it is lazy thinking and just, you know, we don't. And to be honest with you, so many of them don't have an answer to the solution. They're just trying to throw up anything against the wall, hoping that it sticks. Nobody has any real concrete ideas.
Do you know how many brunette news anchor women I've had the conversation with of like when they're like, they told me they wanted me to be a blonde. I'm not a blonde. Yeah. Like, everyone's going to know what I'm trying to do. And they're like, yeah, but our research shows that people like blondes better given the news. They're like, well, okay.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe you should hire one then. You know? I thank God they didn't ask that of me, because if I had to bleach my hair, Lord knows what it would look like. Yeah. Lord knows.
Our numbers are showing us that frosted tips
back in the early aughts
and long like the Egyptian style,
the pharaoh beard.
The pharaoh beards, the pharaoh beards, like frosted tips and pharaoh beards are what really makes a trustworthy sportscaster. You'd be like, well,
I wish I could do the pharaoh beard. Are you kidding me? You talk about differentiating yourself. If you bring that back, I wish I could do it.
That would be leaning into your heritage in a way that most people don't.
100%. And then if somebody comes after me for it, like, well, this is who I am. This is what are you trying to say? No. Like, you know.
Nobody's trying to culturally appropriate the pharaohs yet. And it's
right. No, we're low on the list. That's not a high priority at this point. Yeah. We'll get back to you on that.
All right, Pierre, when we come back, let's talk about the ACC. They are Florida State and Clemson, the ACC, are settling. Everybody's going to be friends again, and no one will have looked like a gigantic douchebag at all. One bit. That's what's great about settlements.
Yeah, I was reading the story in the dentist chair this morning, so I can't wait to dive into this.
Nobody went out and barked about it and said this is a garbage conference that we don't need to be in anymore. Yeah. No, I mean, it never happened now. Everything's cool. Sure. That's next. This is 365 Sports.
Fubo TV has the channels you love for half the cost of cable. Watch your teams live in 4K, plus entertainment for the whole family. Record to the cloud and watch anywhere. Try free at FuboTV.com.
You might ask yourself what functional mushrooms are good for. Whether it's lion's mane, cordyceps, turkey tail, shiitake, reishi, they all serve a purpose.
You have ones for neurological health, ones for sleeping and gut health and all these different areas. They pack a powerful punch.
Functional mushrooms are, of the millions of mushrooms and fungi out there, the ones that we can actually ingest and benefit from as humans.
Like all adaptogens, they kind of adapt to what you need at the time that you need them.
We don't even really know that we're suffering. We just don't quite feel right. That's where these adaptogens come in and really start to close the gap and really start getting us closer to how we want to feel.
Functional mushrooms have definitely re-energized me and helped me face each day with a new vigor for life.
Learn ways that functional mushrooms can help you. Go to getumble.com.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back, Paul Catalina and Catalina. I said my own name wrong. My God. Pierre, I'm going to be 45 in a month and a half.
Yeah.
And I'm not dealing with it well.
I'm going to be 41 on Friday.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
Yeah. Thanks,
happy
buddy.
birthday. Yeah.
Thanks,
it's just, I love my 40s more than my 30s, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
Except for the fact that I'm now hitting a point where my 40s are starting to end. Until now, you're in the beginning of your 40s. I am about to start the end of my 40s. Now, I'm at the beginning of the end of my 40s, but each day will be closer to the end of my 40s. In the beginning of my 50s, somewhere where you never really think you're going to be 50 years old.
Right.
When you're a kid, do you think about 50 years old, it is so long from now.
Yeah.
And
you're going to be doing the Sally O'Malley treatment. 50 years old, baby.
50.
The 50.
50 years old.
50 years old. Still
And
makes me laugh to this day.
Yeah.
Big stretch and kick. Still gets me to this day.
Hey, she was right there at the beginning of the SNL 50 a couple weeks ago.
Love Molly Shannon. Molly Shannon.
By the way, you need to watch the documentaries on Peacock. I'm almost done with them all.
Right.
But the one you talking about Master Control, the one about the writers and how a show gets done.
Yeah.
blow your mind.
And I bet it's insane.
It's
yeah.
insane. Like, I knew this from reading about it, but then you watch it and you're like, my God, how do these people do this?
Yeah.
Like, how do you do it in really it's 4 days. Like, it's 4 days of getting it, because you have to, like, everything has to be ready on Saturday.
Yeah.
You know, like, it has to be ready. So you have Monday, you write it, and then Tuesday through Friday, you got to get ready in 4 days.
Correct.
Sets, makeup, all these things that got to get built. It's madness.
Nuts.
So anyway, the ACC, Clemson and Florida State, where everybody's made up. It's cool. We're cool now, right?
Are we? Is it? I mean,
we're cool. Like, it's not going to be awkward at Thanksgiving.
No, not at all.
No,
not one bit.
This is such a. So, in case you have not heard yet, the ACC and Florida State and Clemson have agreed to a settlement, which, if you've been following the story for the last 6 months or so, you've seen it's kind of in the offing. It's been there since they got to meet. They were forced into mediation by one of the judges. And from that point on, you've seen very few, like, you know, things in the media like this one said this and this one said that, because ultimately now Florida State and Clemson pretty much get what they want and the ACC gets what they need, which the ACC needs Florida State and Clemson in the league. And Florida State and Clemson need to know that they can get out for less money in 5-6 years, you know, when the TV contracts come up again. Then Florida State and Clemson also needed to, you know, have the, you know, a little bit of this when it came to the money, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. Like, oh, hey, you know, yes, we realize that you guys have better TV ratings and all that. What I think should be troubling about this to 90% of the schools in the country is that the ACC has now created the model that the Big Ten and SEC can use, and every conference can use, to now get more money from the big brands from the small brands. So eventually you run out of outside enemies to separate yourself from. Then, like what's happening in since FSU and Clemson can't join that side, like what's happening in the ACC is going to happen other places too, likely, in that, like, the Big Ten, when they get theirs, now that Michigan and Ohio State see that, you know, Florida State and Clemson and Miami and North Carolina will get more money because they're going to have more of the highly rated games, although I still fail to see whenever North Carolina football is going to grab a big number. But Florida State, Clemson, Miami, those games are always going to be, you know, big number games, you know, always. Like, even when they're bad, like, they're still big number games because they're big brand names. And that's true for every big brand name. Texas wasn't good for a decade. They still got big numbers, you know. Michigan wasn't good for more than a decade, still got pretty good numbers. Notre Dame, you know, always gets good numbers no matter how good they are, because the brand recognition trumps everything else. And so they're going to see this. Do you think that Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, USC are going to look at Minnesota and Northwestern and go, yeah, and Rutgers and go, you know, I'm kind of tired of sharing this money with you guys when you only get good ratings when you play us.
Yeah.
So when you guys play each other, it could be anybody on that channel. It doesn't matter, you know. But when you guys play us, people see you. So we need more of the till. And then the SEC will do the same thing and tell Vanderbilt and South Carolina and Mississippi State, like, hey, like, we appreciate you guys and everything you do, but, you know, nobody's watching a game at Cowbell Central, but when it's in Death Valley, guess what? The screens are on. Yeah. So, you know, let's kick up a little more to the big guys.
Yeah.
That's going to be the model, I think, going forward. John Wilner, Wilner Hotline, pointed this out on Twitter about the Big Ten's agreement. Like, it's very reasonable to think that they could do that, because altruism that, like, existed for these conferences to do what they're doing is slowly melting away as the dollar figures go up. Right? I mean, you know, so
the one thing that, you know, that kind of caught my attention too was the ability to get out after a handful of years. I think it's starting in 2030 or 2031. I can't remember which year exactly, and how the price drops significantly to try to get out of the conference, which in my mind, I was like, okay, you're kind of kicking the can down the road a little bit, but I mean, kudos to you for giving yourself a handful of years to try to still figure it out and maintain this conference. And we'll revisit this issue again a little later down the line. But boy, that's a really easy. If you haven't read the report, when it comes to the financial numbers, what did they say? It would be about $700 million if they wanted to try to get out now, or like before they went into arbitration and everything like that. In 2030 or 2031, that number will drop to $100 million, if not under $100 million, to get out of the conference. And that's chump change for some of the big name programs. Like if Florida State and Clemson wanted to revisit this situation, they could say, hey, it's been fun. We tried to make it work. See you later. $100 million is absolutely nothing to us. We're going to go jump ship to maybe the SEC.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that now with the Big 12, last week we saw private capital is going to get involved in that conference. We don't know the final word on that yet, but it's coming. It's about to get involved in the ACC. And believe me, these other schools like Syracuse and Boston College are going to be like, please shoot some capital into us because we're about to get no television money for all this time. Right. So
one thing that has me curious, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know like I know how this works exactly. But if you brought up like the mid-tier schools like Minnesota. Minnesota has Northwestern State on its schedule, second game of the season this year. And you know how it goes. A lot of times those smaller schools, they get, some cash to come into to some of the bigger name schools and basically get boat race. Here's $500,000. Here's $1 million. Thanks for coming and making us look good for a weekend. Here's your money. When you're a mid-tier school like Minnesota, do you stop? How does that affect your non-conference? If you're looking at like, well, look, if we're not getting the money that USC and Ohio State are getting, if they're skimming more off the top for themselves and that makes it less for us, then, we got less money to spend to try to make these, schools like Northwestern State come into town. I don't know if it's, to be honest with you, I don't know if A is equal to B and if there's a connection. But
I would just tell you from the ACC's perspective. So this year, and here's one of the ways they'll sell it. So this year, the team that would have gotten is going to get the most TV money based on it if it was 2024 would be Georgia Tech. Because Georgia Tech had the highest rated game of week 0 because they played Florida State, and they had the highest rated game in week 13 or whatever it was in rivalry week when they almost beat Georgia. So and both those games were nail biters. One like each game was won at the Georgia Tech won at the end of week 0, and then Georgia won at the end in the last game of the regular season. And then you throw in they had an absolute fantastic win over Miami in the middle there, and a couple other games that were, at least ACC-wise, like good viewership. They're number one. So they're going to say, listen, NC State, it could be you. Listen, Wake Forest, it could be you if you have this kind of schedule. So for those teams, for the Minnesotas of the Big Ten, so to speak, it now maybe, if that's the model, behooves you to be like, all right, well, Northwestern State's got to, that's not going to help us get any more TV money. Exactly. We have to keep playing North Carolina in the non-con. We have to go play Big 12 schools. We've got to play Power 5 opponents so that our TV ratings are guaranteed to be up. Which I actually don't have a problem with. I wish that I don't think the FCS schools should play the FBS schools. I'm completely against it. There's no benefit to it. To the FC, there's no benefit for either side to me other than money, other than the payout.
And how many times do you get the Appalachian State Michigan game once every how many years? 20?
Yeah, exactly.
15, 20?
So, and look, I think that if you're going to, and the thing is, if they have to play those, and I understand that the FCS schools depend on that guarantee money, they need it. Well, then those should be your week 0 games. Yeah. That should be your week 0 games. Let's watch all that week 0. And then week 1, like Labor Day weekend, let's start with the FBS versus FBS games and move on. And the SEC shouldn't be able to stash them the second to last week of the year. Yeah. And then be like, oh, well, our conference is really hard, so we have to play it. You can't have it both ways. You can't be like, hey, it's really hard being the SEC. We deserve more. And then when all the other conferences are playing, they're like their best teams, you're taking a week off to find your sea legs again.
Right.
your conference is really hard. Okay, yeah. All right, shut up.
Yeah.
So like those are the things, and I don't like marketing narratives anyway. I think that's what a lot of this is. Like just year to year, let's just base it on what happened in this year and then move on. Clean slate. It's not what Alabama did in 2010 doesn't matter now. It's different. All those guys are gone.
Right.
Like it's. But yeah, I think this is going to be a really interesting model going ahead that I think other conferences are going to use. The one that's interesting though, Pierre, is the one that we're in Big 12 country here. It's going to take the thing that the other three conferences have is years and years of data over who's the alpha dogs in their conference.
Right.
The Big 12 actually doesn't have that because they are the best of the rest, right? That's what's unique about the Big 12 compared to some of these other ones is that it's a conference that formed out of people that were, Colorado, Arizona State, Utah, BYU, Arizona came in. They're not small, like nothing schools. They're bigger in some cases than the ones that were in the Big 12 already, but Iowa State, Kansas, Western, like those schools have been good and successful at different times. So these aren't a bunch of also rans. Like almost everybody in the Big 12 has had some period of glory in their history, but nothing like Texas or Oklahoma had, or nothing like, Florida State and Clemson have had, nothing like USC has had. I'm not going to throw Oregon in there because Oregon's the Texas A&M of the Big Ten. Lots of money, lots of cool stuff, but when it matters, the trophy case is empty, right? Yeah. I mean, you can go up and see a bunch of like, hey, this guy won this award or this guy won that award, and you're like, well, what about the team? And they're like, not yet.
Yeah,
I mean, one day.
We're getting there. We're on the doorstep. We're the little engine that could out here in Oregon,
Herb, can you dust the spot for the national championship trophy that we've saved? Herb, please dust that. It's everybody can tell that nothing's there.
Right. Right.
Just
we have a really cool mascot who makes fun. This is Sports Center commercials. Does that count? That's a cool thing, right?
Yeah. No, we'll put a gigantic inflatable duck in the river in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
That's something, right? That's something, right? And then USC is like, do you want to just borrow one of ours from like 1930 or something? Like you can. I mean, we're not using it, so if you just need something to hold it there, you can have OJ's Heisman.
Yeah, please take that off our hands, please. You probably heard already that actually the Big Ten Media Days are going to be in Vegas this year.
Yeah,
I would love to see the big duck out at the Bellagio fountain. That would be something, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Are you going to go?
Oh, I'm going. I'm definitely
baby.
Going. Oh, yeah. I'm going.
It's also so we were at Allegiant Stadium for the Big 12. You guys are going to be at Mandalay Bay, which is where we were for the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So yeah, it was Mandalay Bay was a cool place to host it until you left and had to like walk back out. Now, if you stay in the hotel, it's probably not as bad, but we weren't staying at the Mandalay Bay. So when you left and took all your stuff home, it was kind of a pain because you're leaving as the people are coming in, in the evening. So that was a little bit of a pain, but nothing that like would make me, if they said, hey, you're back at Mandalay Bay again, like put me right back there. One
of the very few hotels that I have yet to stay on in the Strip and I never stayed there because it's so far down the Strip. It's the first hotel. Once you start going down Las Vegas Boulevard, it's one of the first hotels you see, and it's so far away from everything. So I've never purposely stayed at Mandalay Bay. But now that if it's going to be there, which it is going to be there, if that's where we're staying, I'm looking forward to a new adventure. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. You're gonna have a blast there, Pierre. All right, with the last couple minutes, Pierre, anything jump out at you? Like, are you hyped up after the Underwear Olympics in Indianapolis?
Well, when you look at the board, especially, the one thing that stood out to me was, if Garrett wants to jump in here, I'd love to hear Garrett's thoughts. When you look at the measurables and stuff, Will Campbell they made a big deal about his arms being short, which I thought was an interesting, Cam Ward's hands are a lot smaller than some of the other quarterbacks as well. But, with the Will Johnson arm length discussion, I thought was an interesting discussion to be had because, when you're supposedly trying to be a left tackle in the NFL, I don't want you to have alligator arms. That's gonna be a little bit of a problem for me.
That's interesting because there were a few times this year, man, where watching him, he would get burned or he just looked like he was he would make some odd movements, and he got toasted a few times. And I would even question myself, like, is this cat overrated a little bit?
Yeah.
But he's really good. He's going to have a good career, but I'm honestly not surprised to see that pointed out, and it kind of gives me clarity onto maybe what was the problem on those situations at LSU, and there you need the professional scouts to let you know.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that Will Campbell's going to – it feels like there's a lot of guys – yeah, I think there's a lot of guys in this draft, particularly on the offensive line, who are – I don't know if we have a true left tackle in this draft. Campbell might be the closest to it, but there's a lot of guys playing tackle. Kelvin Banks, maybe. There's a lot of guys who seem to be better suited at guard or who might get kicked into at guard. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, if he's playing left tackle in college – but you're planning to kick him into guard, am I really going to spend a top 15 pick on a guy like that? Guards to me, as great as they might be and as important they might be, I don't know if I'm spending a top 15 pick on a guard. I don't know if I have the stomach for that.
Yeah, no, you don't pick a guard. You only pick a guard in the first round when they're like just dominant.
Yes.
Otherwise, that's a later pick. So
Zach Martin was a good example of that. I mean,
Zach Martin was he's one of the greatest guards of all time.
Yeah.
And here's the deal: when they picked him, he was a tackle, and then they moved him inside the guard.
Yeah.
And I think the initial plan for Zach Martin was, all right, this guy's going to be, a tackle when he's like in a couple years, and then he's the best right guard that May has ever played in the NFL, and he's up there. So you don't move him because he was just so good. So yeah, the Cowboys kind of like they didn't draft like they thought like we're going to start him at guard and then we'll move him to tackle. Like long term, they always thought he was going to be a tackle, and then he just okay, well he's the best guard ever. So let's not mess with perfection.
I think the other guy too, the other thing that stands out to me, and the guy who probably made himself a lot of money, and the scouts salivating over the measurables is Nick Emenwari. I mean, how do you not? Even I was like, oh boy, you've heard me say it over the last couple of weeks. All I want is guys in the trenches for the Miami Dolphins at number 13. But when even I was like watching Nick Emenwari, and I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, this guy, the measurables, the tape. He could be something special. So I don't know if I would be all that mad if he went to Miami at 13.
Yeah. No, I think you would be at all. That's something they need. Again, I came out of it saying like me is if the Cowboys don't give us Ashton Genty, if they don't do that, it better be good. I'm just telling you, it better be really good because he's special. Like, that's the thing where that's like Zach Martin. Don't get wrapped up in the position. Yeah. Don't get wrapped up in the, the positional value we have. But no. You have a chance to do something very, very special. And somebody who fits the Cowboys mold, the Dorsett, Emmett, they have not had that guy in a very long time. Yeah. And I'm including Zeke in this. Zeke was good early on, but this is a team that had Tony Dorsett and Emmitt Smith. Those guys are in the Ring of Honor, and Don Perkins and all these big time running backs. And I know it's a little different now, but this is one of those guys who's like an Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders, once in a generation super stud. Yeah. And you just got to go get him. If he's there at 12 and they don't get him, they're outthinking themselves. There are a lot of running backs in the draft, and they might draft someone like Omarion Hampton or Devin Neal or Taj Brooks or Cam Scatterboo and be fine. But this guy is the alpha of the alphas, and take those guys when they fall to you.
We should find a way to have a camera on us on draft night, because I think it would be beneficial for the audience to see our reactions of picks 12 and 13.
Hey, we'll make it happen. Done.
I think we can do that.
We'll put it. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll make it happen. Yeah, I've wanted to do this for a while. So, yeah, we can. I'll set it up. Like I'll be in my house just upstairs, and then we'll that'll be a good 10th Mountain whiskey thing. I'll get you some as well. I'll finally send some.
I might be at US Bank Stadium for the Vikings draft party, but I will step away from the camera. I'd pick 13. For many reasons, but yeah, I'll step away. Yeah, I'll step away.
Yeah. I would love, it would be the end of your career there, but they'd be like, Pierre, tell us what you think about what the Vikings are at, 27?
24.
At 24. Like, tell us about what you think about the Vikings at 24. All right, but first,
yes.
Hold on. I don't mean, I'll answer your question. Pipe down. I'll answer your question. First off, let's talk about the Dolphins at 13. I'll get to the Vikings. They're fine. They picked somebody that was good. They know what they're doing. The Dolphins, however, I know it's a long way away, but a lot of your grandmothers are going to retire there, so shut the hell up and listen to me for a second.
That's right. It's my time. It's my time now.
This is my time. And they're just like, all right, well, Pierre Noujaim at the stadium. Ooh.
For all those 3 Dolphins fans and the Minneapolis St. Paul viewing demographic, I guess you got your analysis right there.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people like, hey, I just want to know about our new guard.
Yeah.
I don't care about all this in Miami. We don't even play the Dolphins that much.
By the way, if the Vikings stay at 24, I would be shocked. I would be shocked if the Vikings if they didn't trade out of the first round completely. Then it would be a very, very, very prudent thing to do to trade out of the first round completely for them, because they have no draft capital whatsoever this year.
Yeah. No, look, if they traded to say like 35, let somebody jump up there, that would make sense for them.
Fine.
Yeah.
No problem. 1 first-round pick, 2 fifth-round picks, and I think they're going to get a compensation pick for Kirk Cousins in 3rd round. But even before that, when you only have three draft picks overall going into a draft, you got to make some maneuvering. Some maneuvering needs to be done. And
they'll probably get a nice one next year for Sam Darnold.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
They would.
So
yes, they would.
Yeah. All right. Pierre, thank you so much. I wish we could do this every single day.
Oh, me too.
Like the fact, you and I have been friends for over a decade now.
Yep.
And we don't see each other every day, and it makes me sad.
No, it makes me sad as well, because, we could be doing so much more career-wise together.
Well, and here's the thing. For planet Earth.
Yeah.
It's not just –
No.
I think the world needs us. Maybe that's conceded. Maybe it's – maybe we're just bloviating right now. But I will tell you, I do think the world needs us together more often than one day a week.
Talents that transcend sports and time, I would say, too.
Yes, we could affect the space-time continuum.
100%.
You can't prove that we can't, just like we can't prove that we can.
If I wasn't stuck on this money-making machine that is the rat race, that is human life, I probably would have figured it out by now.
Exactly. Yeah. Apparently we have to pay bills.
Yes. Listen, you're only holding us down. That we're being held down.
Yeah.
So,
I would love to call up the IRS and say, I'm not in the mood.
Oh, yeah.
You guys figure it out. Like,
speaking of which, I still haven't done my taxes yet. Maybe I'll get on that when I get after the show.
Yeah. I have a feeling old Paul will be filing an extension this year.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Yeah. All right. Pierre Noujaim, Fox 9 Minneapolis, back with us again next Monday. That's going to do it for us. We're loaded up. Rob Douster, Phil Snow, Shireen Williams, and the UCF schedule day. That's all coming up at 3 o'clock on 365 Sports. This is the Triple Option. Like and subscribe. It's the lifeblood of this industry. Bye.
Get ready for epic savings at Best Buy. Right now, you can save up to $700 on select Alienware and Dell gaming products. Perfect for leveling up your gaming experience. Plus, grab the latest Android Google Pixel at an unbeatable price. Don't miss these incredible deals. Shop now at bestbuy.com and upgrade your tech today.